What are some common signs that someone grew up with shitty parents? The ability to love, but not believing for a second that anyone could love you back, that you simply aren't worthy of it. Storing up a lot of mental and emotional pain because you feel that nobody cares enough to listen. Lacking self-confidence in all areas of life, even once you seemingly excel in by others' opinions. The complete inability to see yourself as worthy of anything at all. Getting defensive when asked to explain why you did something, or why you chose to say what you said. Shutting people out or not pursuing a real connection with anyone, because you feel that you are more of a burden to them than anything positive you could possibly offer to them. Not speaking up for yourself, and instead choosing to fade into the background through fear that you will cause embarrassment. Damaging any potential romantic relationships because you can't believe their intentions towards you are genuine, simply because you don't feel you deserve any of it. The list goes on, but my heart hurts. I don't ever want to marry, and even if I do, I'm not going to have kids. I don't want to imagine someone else, especially my children, going through something like I did. What if I can't provide emotionally or financially like my parents, and they end up like me? I can't take that guilt into my grave. I spent my whole childhood on the brink of suicide, and even now, when things are a bit better, my body is used to that anxiety so badly that I often let loose, even without registering it in my head that I'm letting loose. I have nightmares on random things every fucking night, and I get up at least 2 to 3 times every night because I can't sleep, because of the nightmares and racing heartbeat. Even when my life is going good, I can't enjoy a good night's sleep because of how fucked my body is due to all that lifetime anxiety. I've spent a lot of time fixing myself. Even my childhood hobbies included reading self-help books on how to perform, self-therapy, and I spent a majority of my life trying to undo what I now think can't be undone. I can just accept it and try to minimize the damage and not get into a relationship, so I give some other person the emotional pain because of my inability to fix myself. They lie. Lies specifically for avoiding conflict. Actually, I change my answer to avoiding conflict. It's avoidance until an explosion. It's all they know. Some personal reference. I used to lie so frequently, it was easier than remembering the truth. I would get mad at characters on TV for being so bad at coming up with a plausible denial. One day I decided I was broken, and now I won't lie. I tell the truth all the time, and it's so calming. My spouse, also shite parents, will lie about anything money related, but he's so bad at it, and never covers his tracks. Like, come on. At least have some childhood trauma that makes you good at it. For real. He just says everything was on sale. I've gotten used to just ignoring anything he says about money. Paranoia. The inability to trust others, and obsessively overthinking every conversation they have. Also, speaking from a personal perspective, people that grew up with toxic parents continue to question their sanity and reality here and there from the continuous gaslighting. They don't understand simple gestures of kindness. Took my husband a long time to understand that my parents liked giving little gifts to people and doing things for them, that they weren't trying to insult him or us, or make us feel incompetent. They were just showing affection. Some people are focusing on the gift part of this, while I was trying to emphasize the kindness. Like, my dad or brothers offering to help or keep company when he mentioned he had to fix the deck or paint the shed or go to the junkyard for a car part. To him the offer was insulting and suspicious. To them it was just what you do to make someone's life easier. But in his family, that notion didn't exist, so he couldn't figure out why it was happening, except he didn't think it could be a good reason. People who try way too hard to please, and are terrified to put themselves first. This is the saddest trait, because it's the easiest for fresh predators to take advantage of when the parents are out of the picture. If only terrible parents knew or cared that they were grooming their kids. Forfeiture abuse. Putting yourself first in this context does not mean being selfish or narcissistic. It means having the capacity to set healthy boundaries. It means understanding that your opinions have merit, that your emotions matter, that you should have complete bodily autonomy, and that you shouldn't fear the wrath of Zeus if you say no. Also, it means that you should never have to do anything you're uncomfortable with to earn someone's love. They say sorry all the time for the smallest of things. They try really hard to please you, even if there's no reason for them to do that. They're incapable of putting themselves first. They need constant reassurance that they're a good person. They assume you're upset with them. If you seem even slightly disinterested, they have difficulty maintaining friendships, as they feel they're not worth your time. They can pick up bad habits easily: drugs, poor diet, poor sleeping pattern. They feel drawn to people who are bad to them as it's all they know. They don't even recognize the bad shit their parents or other people have done, as they're just used to being shat on all the time. They can be insecure in relationships, as they may feel they're unworthy of your love. When they're dealing with shit, they may isolate themselves, as they never learn to put their trust in other people, due to their parents using those issues against them. They'll have poor social skills. They may be very obviously autistic, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, depressed, etc., but haven't even considered it, because their parents don't believe in mental health and mental conditions, or just refuse to accept that their kids might have something even remotely different about themselves than the parents, as those parents don't see a world outside of themselves. A lack of self-esteem shows up in so many different ways. My significant other basically told me that I make her worry because I don't boss her around, which leaves her always wondering if I'm disappointed in her, or if I feel she's not being a good girlfriend. If I boss her around and she follows my commands, then she knows she's done what she's been told and has nothing to worry about. This has become less of an issue over the years. I refuse to boss her around. I try to show appreciation instead, and remind her that I love her, but she still worries she's not good enough sometimes, and I hate that. I don't blame her, but I hate it more than anything. I feel she's never been good enough for her parents, which has left her vulnerable to date guys who take advantage of that, and also made her feel like she's not good enough. I knew a kid who'd instinctively cover his head whenever someone was behind him, and he'd refuse to sit or stand anywhere that didn't have his back to a wall. His older siblings beat him up regularly. He'd frequently be coming to school with fresh bruises, and when a girl tried to comfort him, he thought she was just trying to lure him into a trap and hit her, which got him expelled, and growing up I'd see him around town. He dropped out of school completely and got into drugs. His parents never gave a shit. Never. Not fucking once. He had nothing because his older brothers would steal and destroy anything he ever owned, even his clothes. So he'd wear the same thing for weeks on end. Is it any surprise that he's been in and out of prison all his adult life? Parental apathy is fucking shit. And to add a cherry on top, his abusive older brothers went on to live pretty happy, fulfilling lives, but the little brother they tortured and abused for years became the societal and family outcast. They have unstable relationships, struggle in social situations, weren't taught basic household tasks, get nervous when someone raises their voice, don't know how to apologize or apologize for things they shouldn't apologize for, struggle with intimacy, physical touch, are often people pleasers. I can always tell when someone didn't, though. When I've alluded to having difficulties with my parents, it's unbelievable how many times I've been responded to with, Yeah, but they do love you, though. Not all parents love their children. Not all parents are good people. Your experience is not universal. It was ways heartbreaking to get this response, because I knew that, even if they didn't say it, they were blaming me for the issues. I grew up in a home where parents constantly promised one thing and did another. After they divorced a few years after, Mom moved to another state, and I didn't want to go with her, because I would go from a large high school to a tiny school. She would constantly promise to drive the 3 hours to see me. She never did. I would stand at the window 4 hours. Between that and my dad asking me to give him money to hang out with him has meant I latched onto relationships that were awful, but I got attention even when it was abuse. Now I just have issues letting go of relationships. But therapy has helped so much. They're a desperate people pleaser. Someone who'll leap to the aid of anyone, who'll give up anything they have so that someone else doesn't miss out, who will go well out of their way to be of assistance, and who abhors needing any help themselves. They suck at apologizing. Either they apologize for every small little thing, because their parents made them feel guilty just for existing, or they never apologize at all, or only apologize insincerely, because admitting you are wrong is a sign of weakness. Masking. You won't notice when someone's actively masking, but you'll notice when they accidentally drop it. It's the people who tell the funny jokes and befriend nearly everyone at work, who can strike up a conversation at a coffee shop, but that you occasionally catch doing strange things, or saying something off that are the surprise. People who automatically place themselves back to a wall, glance around while they're speaking. You'll notice they're glancing at people, windows, and exits pretty exclusively. The mask goes down the most when they mention something, like it's a funny anecdote. Oh, I've been run over before. I was fine. Yeah, my dad was a hard ass too. We don't talk anymore. Oh my God, yes, paying rent to your parents sucks. My mom charged me $400 plus a month at 17, and she didn't even pay rent. These are the people that have had years to figure out how to live with shit. But it still affects their behavior, and probably always will. Make a mistake on my mum. In public it was the look. Even my teachers saw the look and knew. She freaking knew, and did nothing when I cowered over something small and stupid. At home it was full on hitting, screaming, getting in my face, destroying things. To my mum, I'm this awful person who doesn't deserve to be treated nicely. Everything bad I did, accident or not, was just to hurt her. Get sick, doing it to hurt her, forget something. I 100% did it on purpose to hurt her. It would end in her hitting, screaming, got pinned to a wall, and screamed in my face quite a few times, thrown out, all over insignificant things. I was a normal kid. I pushed normal boundaries. I never did anything truly horrible, just typical kid stuff. Nope. I was the worst child to ever exist. Even as an adult, Mum didn't stop thinking of me like that. She'd still attempt to hit me. Unfortunately for her, I was faster and got out of the way. It's freaking awful knowing you're on edge all the time, waiting to be hit even years after you escape the abuse. And you can still dodge without conscious thought. She would still scream at me, like I'm a bad child needing severe discipline. I still feel like I'm a bad person. That Mum would have loved me if I'd just been different, better. That feeling will never go away even though I know it's not true. I was just a kid, reacting to a crappy situation. She got off easy when I got older. She made out I was the worst kid, teen ever. I wasn't. I know I wasn't. Another take on this, it stunted our social growth. Due to my parents never caring about what I was interested in, after giving up on me being the sports kid. I now carry a type of vibe that makes it easy for people to talk over me. When I'm mid-sentence, and a lot not even realize it. I genuinely cannot hold a conversation like a normal person, because I never had casual talks with my parents to learn any of that. I never had casual talks with friends, since what I learned from my parents was that people only speak to me when they want something or need help. Online is a godsend though, since I don't have to look at people, or I can take my time to respond. Now let's talk about people needing help. 98% of the time I'll help someone if they need it. Mainly out of fear said person will get mad and yell at me. So now I can't even tell if I'm a selfish person or a good person, and I struggle every day with that. Parents should care about their child's interests and talk to them like they're people too. If not, they'll more than likely go down the same chain I did and have to learn socializing at 26 and onward. I got so sick one time with a cold that I ended up at age 13 in the hospital for over a week with pneumonia. My mother only decided to take me to an urgent care when I started hallucinating. I thought the reason I was sick was there was something in my hair. Turned out that I was sweating so much from fever and tossing and turning in bed that my hair had matted itself into a knot on the back of my head. The dog wouldn't leave my side during all this and would whine when someone approached me. As someone with kids, I've had to unlearn the impulse to ignore their illnesses. Honestly, I've had to situations where I should have taken them earlier. I still will never be able to hold my side of an interesting conversation. I can't tell a story longer than a few sentences. I start to panic if someone is actually listening to me. I want to press the ESC key to get out of it. This is me 100%, and I used to view it as a bad thing. I obsess over plans and predictability and love the routines of every day. I know it can be exhausting at times, but the times I hear my kids say things and feeling comfort about their routine, like, on Saturdays we have dancing, with the confidence of knowing they can rely on it, makes me so happy. The day I heard my 4-year-old daughter tell someone, if my mommy says she will, then she will about an activity, was one of the best days of my life. Knowing they rely on me and they trust me, I'm so grateful. I have given them something I never had. For anyone who is finding the negatives in my comment and warning me about being controlling of my children, as they grow I feel I need to clarify something. Self-awareness has taught me to be mindful of the fact I am the way I am, and I reflect on it often. It is not about controlling what my children do. It is about controlling what I do. My kids are people in their own right, and if they decide they don't want to do X or Y, that is their choice. But ensuring they have the choice of X or Y is on me, as their parent, to deliver, if I have said I will. Building resilience from a safe environment is just as possible, and a lot healthier than the resilience I was forced to build from my own shitty childhood. I didn't know my mom was as bad as she is. I thought it was normal. My husband picked up something wasn't right, because I flinch any time I see a sudden movement. He asked about it. I said, probably because I used to get hit a lot, like no big deal. And he was like, okay, so we're going to therapy. Other things do or I deal with. Cover my ears for comfort when I get scared, because I don't want people yelling at me. Watch, listen to or read the same books, Harry Potter, over and over and over, because familiarity is a comfort. Think I've got all 7 books memorized word for word at this point. Apologize constantly. Have issues dealing with guilt. Cries. Like. A lot. All it takes is a firm tone, and I'm in tears. Lol. Examination anxiety. Because you know you'd get the knocked out of you if you got anything under 95%, even though the bitch wouldn't let you study. It carried into my adult years. I cannot do my driver's license test because of it. Over-explaining because causing offense was a bad idea. Pushing your emotions down until you can get to your own space, where you just explode. Shaky hands. Insomnia followed by bouts of sheer exhaustion, where you can sleep for days on end. Panic attacks. adrenaline crashes, clumsiness. The list can go on forever. They apologize for everything, or they try to explain why they did something, what their reasonings were. Both tactics are a way to try to get whoever isn't happy with them to stop yelling or being upset, because there's a good chance they're afraid the next step is that they're going to get hit. Even if that person hasn't hit them before, that doesn't mean they won't in the future. Both my parents grew up with shitty parents of their own, so I'm so infinitely grateful that they loved and cared for me and gave me a better life. I think my dad had the worst of the parents, although my mum still had it bad. My dad always says, food means love, and says he feels bad if you don't eat anything. That might seem like a harmless and loving thing, and in a way, it's just a reflection on my dad's character. But the sad reason behind that is because, if he was given a meal as a kid, it meant his parents weren't fighting and he didn't have to go and steal to eat. Food wasn't a guarantee for him back then. And that wasn't just because his parents were poor. They were, but it was a lack of caring that deprived him of food. There's countless other instances of things that prove this, but some of them are heartbreaking to say. I love my dad, and I'm so proud of him for coming out of the other side and becoming a respectable man.